Hey, hello everyone. This is Between Two Teachers, where two teachers talk about education and all the craziness that's happening every single day. So we focus on that, and today is Monday, March the 14th. So we'll get you up to date on what's going on nationally, in the state, and locally. And my name is Consuelo Lara.
And I'm Madeline Cronenberg. And we begin, as always, with our land acknowledgement. We pause to gather and acknowledge that we have gathered on the ancestral territory of Chin, part of the unceded land of the Chochenyo and Karkin-speaking Muwekma Ohlone people. We remember their continued connection to this region and give thanks to them for allowing us to live, work, learn, and pray on their traditional homeland. We offer our respect to their elders and all Ohlone people of the past and present. And lots has continued to happen. Nationally, there are a couple of things that are going on. One of them is that the Minneapolis, St. Paul Twin City teachers did go on strike. And so they have the issues that we have throughout the country. And the biggest one is funding, right? They are tremendously underfunded. So they need to have everybody's support for people to understand that even in Minnesota, a state that has a high value on education, there is still such a small amount that is actually designated from public funds to go into supporting our school sites, who are expected to just handle more and more problems. Right? It's just a very sad situation. So they are doing that. And at the same time that's happening, all of the bills throughout the state, throughout the nation that impact the culture wars, the bills, the Florida bill, right? The bills on the bills of all of the restrictions around the coronavirus, the masking and vaccine and testing restrictions have all been conflated with curriculum issues, whether or not we're teaching our true history, or deciding whether or not somebody has the test of we don't teach anything anybody's uncomfortable with. An incredible test of history. How would you teach what's happening in Ukraine today? Because it might make somebody uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
We're all, anyway, all of that's continuing. Just so I won't go through all of the states. There are websites, and actually I'll post to them in our Facebook, on our Facebook page, that there are websites now that are tracking how many states are adopting restrictive legislation to control teachers.
Yep. It's a real targeted strategy. It's organized. It's with intent and purpose. This is not just a few unhappy parents.
No.
This is really organized with a purpose that's it has economic issues. It's voter suppression. All of those things, they're all interrelated, with making sure that just a few people get to control everything, everything else. And really, it's like one of the workshops I went to, it's democracy is being attacked, in
It is.
so many ways. So yes, this is true.
Yep. Okay. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done, but I just call it out every week because it's not getting better, it's getting worse. Yeah. The other things that are happening, one of the things that's happening, to reflect again on what's happening in Ukraine, is first of all, what's happening in Ukraine is perhaps the beginning of a world war. I mean, it's certainly horrific, and there are scenes that this generation of young people have never seen before. These are war-torn. It's a war-torn country. It's being bombed. Children are being bombed. Civilians are dying every day. It's a terrible situation. Their communities are going to be dispersed all over the world, including in the United States, where I'm sure that there'll be refugees and children of refugees impacting our education system now in ways that nobody had expected. And the other part of it is right now the strategy of the one strategy in the United States is to do sanctions and pull money out of Russia, right? And so the teachers and the education pension plans have a lot of money, and they are now being, people have advocacy around having them divest, as well as a lot of other organizations from Russia and from Russian investments.
Yeah, that's
that is a big, it's of course incredibly complicated because all this money gets intermingled in the investment world, but the intention is there, or at least the beginning of that intention is there. So that may happen, and it can be, at least it's moving to the extent it can into the right direction. And another national thing I wanted to just mention is around Teach for America. So Teach for America has been around a long time now, and at one point had what was the number? Something like almost 7,000 applicants or participants in a year, all over the country, and certainly in the Bay Area and in West Contra Costa and districts throughout Contra Costa County. They have been very present. This year, they're at 1/3 of their highest recruitment level. Of course, because teachers don't get paid any money. Teachers, as a profession, it's not the profession they were able to sell. When they first started, there was a very high unemployment rate. And you had college students who couldn't find jobs. And one of the reasons that Teach for America was so successful is because they provided that opportunity for students to be placed. They didn't have to go find jobs.
Yep. And they paid off their loans. That was a big one.
Nobody cares about that anymore.
No, nobody is there. And it's not worth it. Even if you got all that stuff, it's not worth it right now. How can you convince anybody to go into teaching? It's just
they are proving that you can't. And they're having a big, even though they have done all this different kinds of outreach as an organization, they have worked on many different things. They've worked on many different things. They've done outreach to expand the colleges that they work with. They've moved into the HBCUs, all of which is a good thing, because originally they started in the Ivy Leagues,
schools,
right?
Yeah.
So they've made adjustments, but the current situation has proven too much for them. So the one thing. So anyway, that's where they are. They're at 1/3 of their highest level.
All right.
And at their lowest level since they began, apparently. And the one other thing they have started, though, is their own recruitment. And so they have a program that's operated by them, and it's a virtual tutor program. And I'm assuming it's available to their teachers to have tutors then for their students. But it might be broader than that. That's not clear to me. And it's a program called Ignite. And what they're doing is recruiting college students to work for 12 weeks, basically $100 a week, $1,200, 5 hours a week. So it's $20 an hour to be a virtual online tutor to some number of students online.
Oh, okay. All right.
Right? Which I suppose will ultimately get them. Anyway, it's also a recruitment tool to see if you like teaching online. And one thing about it is we know that one thing we do need is more people who are willing to teach online.
Yeah, that is true.
I mean, that's actually something that the teaching all of the teaching programs need to look at, because if there are some people who would want to do it.
Yeah, but we got to keep an eye on how are they taking public school funds.
Oh yeah,
through their contracts, or how are they privatizing this whole area? So we got to look
so
at
this is privatizing tutors, right? So what we really need to have are more online tutors that are paid for by the districts.
by the district. There you go.
Right? But we don't really have that, or paid for by, how we have to figure it out, by the districts, by the county, by the colleges themselves that have programs that could do outreach. It could be an outreach of part of a teacher credentialing program. But anyway, theirs is called Ignite, and they're out there. Then the only other, I wanted to talk two things about the coronavirus. Now everybody's getting their masks lifted. Although, who knows what's going to ultimately happen. It seems to be, you think it's all gone. And today in China, 51 million people went on complete lockdown.
I saw that. It's like, how can we be loosening up when that's happening over there? It's, yeah, I don't know. This virus is very insidious. So we've got to be aware of that. But anyway, right now, the tendency, because our rates are low, the transmission rates are low, that everybody's looking at the next step of not having masks. And then I'm sure they're going to revisit the testing and vaccine procedures too. Yeah.
Different ways. And then the last thing I'm going to just talk about as far as our local school district is the fact that we've gotten to March 15. Tomorrow is March 15. And in the education world, March 15 has this big meaning because it's RIF Day. It's the day that you have to have your board vote on a reduction in force. And if you don't announce your reduction in force and notify the teachers who would be reduced, then you're not able to go ahead with the reduction in force. And that doesn't mean that you have to, if teachers leave, it has to do with specific individuals who would be on that list. And different districts approached it differently. And last week, the West Contra Costa district voted 3-2 not to do the RIFs, to keep the teaching force and the support staff whole, and to go to direct their team to find the money other places.
Yeah, and in the past, it hasn't been this, stressful, because there was some collaboration. At least it wasn't all of those, not everybody was happy, but at least there were people at the table who were affected by this. And, there was some collaboration going on. So, but this year, none. So it has really been, a difficult thing. But I'm glad they didn't, they couldn't do that, because it would have been so wrong and unfair. So
there are so many issues around it, and one of the main ones is that the schools that you've worked the hardest to try to bring back and support are often the schools that are the most difficult to teach in, because their children have the greatest needs. They tend to have a younger and in this community, much more diverse workforce, and they would have been decimated.
Yeah, the most vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
would have suffered from this. Yeah,
right. And there was no collaboration or plan around that, so there wasn't really. Anyway, that's that was what's happened right now. Now people have to look at how we move on to grow the pot, to look for other sources of funding.
And it's not too late to start the collaboration. It's not too late. Reach out, talk to people, stop ignoring people that are affected by this the most, and listen. Listening is fine, but make sure they're at the table helping.
Work together.
Eyes on the same documents. The more eyes you have on it,
This is exactly right. Because the biggest issue around coming together is trust. And in this case, when you're talking about money, it's trust in your numbers. And the way you trust your numbers is you open the numbers up and everybody looks at them together.
Yeah, that's what
when
happens.
you do that, then everybody's together. And if you don't do that, you can't just assume that people are going to agree with you just because you say you're right.
No,
It's-
no.
That is how it works. And then you've created an adversarial situation where you didn't need to have one.
And nobody wins in those situations.
Nobody wins. And absolutely our children don't win
Oh,
ever. That's why, right? And that's why you had, the Labor Management Institute, which is the perfect example of working together.
yeah, I sent that information and I hope, that they will send some people down there for the Summer Institute and learn basically how to collaborate with your unions and the administration.
Right.
Well, so,
Because that is the business of education. We talk about all the business of education is having everybody work together. And the better they work together, the more successful your education program is going to be.
that's the truth. That is the
That's
truth.
what it comes down to.
Yes.
So tell us that you had a conference this week, right?
Oh,
Tell us.
yeah. It was a great conference. It was the county board governance workshop. And a lot of it was, CSBA put it on, and there was a lot about board meetings and the voting rights and responsibilities of the board, computer science, communication policy. And the best one was on CTE, one of our favorite topics. And superintendents from Ventura County, Ventura School District, board members, and Amy Christensen, she's from Butte County. And what I really liked this, I got to share this with you. She said, how we're always fighting that mentality that it's either or. Either they're going to go in CTE or they're going to go to college. And that somehow, let me show you these myths. So myth number one is career education is the modern version of vocational tech education. That's not at all the case. It is so much more rigorous, academic, and high level. This is no dumbing down of anything. Myth number two, career education is not necessary for college-bound students. Well, we know that that's not true. And there's different levels. You can take classes for career ed at the college, at the high school, then get a job, then go further, community college. You want to be a supervisor in that field, go to get your BA, master's. So there's always, it's an entryway.
There are different exits. That's the big thing. It has multiple exits at all different levels, right?
This was interesting. Myth number three, career education cannot be taught online. She said it can be. Yeah, a lot of it's okay. Some things maybe not so easily, but you can still do a lot online. Myth number four, middle or new collar jobs will pay less than jobs requiring a 4-year degree. Yeah, we know that's not true. We know jobs that you don't need a 4-year degree and you can make a lot of money. You can make a lot of money. So myth number five, there won't be a job for me. That's the thing about CTE. CTE is zeroing in on what's the job market? Where's the need? That's what we're going to teach. So yes, there will be jobs for you because that's the purpose of it. So to that end, people are organizing. There's 5 bills pending. And they all have to do with promoting pathways, pupil instruction, academies. There's a connection with community colleges, some about county office. I just learned about them, so I'm getting more information. But they're SB 1080, AB 1923, AB 2058, AB 2617, and AB 102. And it's just wonderful to read them because it's like, oh my gosh, somebody opened their eyes and saw what we need. So I'm all for this, and I'm on the legislative committee at our county, and I'm gonna do whatever I can to push these forward. So that was good news.
That's very good news. And it just shows that the state is going in the right direction as far as understanding the investment it needs to make, right? And I think that the one thing about the academies that I hope at some point people understand is that they don't have to be, you don't have to have this either or choice. And you're not trapped in an academy. If you start in one and it's not working for you, you can leave and go to another one or not be in an academy if that's really what you think is the most important. But they are rigorous classes that allow students to make decisions around things that they would like to do with their life.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
And it's not like they're not important kinds of choices. And for many students, the exit plan may be sooner, where you would be able to get jobs right after high school and then have your employer send you to additional training.
Right.
For many families, that's the perfect way to set it up. It's everybody doesn't have to use the same strategies, and especially now when we've had so many changes in what's online and what's not online.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm so hopeful with this direction. So we've been talking about this for a few years, huh, Madeline?
Yeah, we have talked about CTE, right? And
Oh
so
my
and
gosh.
CTE is important, but it just shows. So we all want to continue to get behind CTE and make sure that that people don't denigrate it in any way, because that's been the problem, or been one of the problems.
Oh, I also wanted to share that we have talked about that Social Security penalty issue when people from private business or a private job out of education, then they become teachers, and then they're not eligible to get their Social Security. And CTA retired, there apparently is a bill, and they're pushing that one as well. So there's a lot of stuff to be done, and that would help this area.
But enormously, it would solve it. I mean, I could solve it. And that's another thing that's going to keep people from moving from private industry into education.
Yeah.
Right. Because your work in industries no longer counts. Right.
Yeah.
So that it is a big deal. So that bill is a big deal. And I want us to finish up with the bill that's incredibly important to all of us. And that's the new Senate Bill 830. And that bill will help districts throughout California get a fairer budget. Right now, the way it's set up is we get paid, our budget is paid for based on our attendance. And this would change it to what many other states do, which is a much fairer one, and one that you can also work your numbers out more clearly. And that is on your enrollment. At the beginning of the year, you know what your enrollment is. You don't know what your attendance is.
No.
Right? And you staff your school based on your enrollment. You hire teachers based on who's enrolled, not who you can predict will attend.
Exactly.
And that is the issue.
Yeah.
So if this bill is passed, SB 830, which has got to be, it's an answer to helping the broken funding system in California. It's a big step forward.
Absolutely.
SB 830. So we're all pushing for that. Superintendent Thurman is a big supporter of it, and we all need to be supporters of it. So that's my shout out, is to the people behind SB 830, because that is what I'm talking. I think that's where we have to put all of our energy until it passes.
Yes, absolutely. Okay.
And make sure the governor signs it. That's the other thing.
Ooh, a lot of work to do. Okay.
A lot of work to do. So
all right.
we'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.